Let's try not to get hurt. I have a smile ear to ear this whole time, so I don't know. Woo! Not bad. A lot of spring in between these. Woo!
Welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name is Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today we're reviewing a very special Meier Bangtail. Now full disclosure, these were provided to me by Meier, but as always, they don't pay me money to do these reviews. They send me the ski and I give my honest opinion. And that is the case with all ski brands. I do not take money for ski reviews, so this is my independent opinion on the ski. As always, the way that I'm able to remain independent is I will have affiliate links down below if you're interested in buying this ski or any other ski. So I will have a link to this ski down in the description. If you want to help support us and keep us independent, I found that that's kind of the best way to do it. We also have ways for people to donate. I know sometimes people donate in the chat below of YouTube, which is fine, but half of that goes to YouTube. So if you want to support us directly, we'll have Ko-Fi and Venmo links down below. I don't really care if you do that too much, but it's better than YouTube taking half of your money when you're trying to donate. I mean, I do appreciate it and it's great, but not necessary. I love doing independent reviews because it allows me to test small brands like Meier. So big shout out to the team over at Meier for sending me these skis. I always say this, but it shows extreme confidence in your skis, and this was no exception. This was such a fun ski. So big shout out, thank you Meier for sharing these. But now on to my honest opinion on these. I skied these in a 186 centimeter length, which means they have a 17 meter turn radius. These are fairly narrow at 73 millimeters width underfoot and just in your hand, very light, very pliable. They have this asymmetrical race design, but they are not asymmetrical on the rest of the ski. So if you have a sharp edge that you need to swap out, as long as you're not running gates on them, you should for the most part be able to swap them out either way. It may not look as cool, especially with how cool the graphic looks when they're combined. At least that's my understanding of it. I guess I could be wrong, but typically when you see asymmetrical skis like this, especially race skis, people will actually slip the course on the opposite skis to keep their like good edges sharp. So that would be my advice. I don't see anything else on the ski that makes me think that you couldn't do that. Now these 186 centimeter skis come in at 1,858 grams, which is pretty light considering the length, and especially considering that it's, you know, a semi-race ski. Essentially, we would call that a cheater ski, where it doesn't have to meet FIS regulations, but it can still have a lot of the fun of a race ski. We'll talk about that more later. Handmade, handcrafted, made in USA, made out of Colorado. This is part of their, what they call like the secret stash collection. Essentially, that means that they don't pre-make a bunch of these because this is such a specialized thing. You will have a longer wait time when you order them, but that means that you are getting them handmade on the spot. These retail for $895, which is very surprising considering that this is a handmade ski and considering it's like such a specialized tool. A lot of race skis or race adjacent skis tend to go for a pretty good amount. When you add in that they're handmade, that makes that retail price, in my opinion, pretty competitive. But again, more on that later. These come with a 3-year warranty, which is very good considering how, at least people that I know that ski these kind of skis, how tough they are on them. But anyway, now that you know how these skis look on paper, let me tell you how they actually felt on snow, because I have a lot of things to say. Some good, some bad as always, but more than anything, my honest opinion, having taken these on the snow. So what was my first impression with the Meier Bangtail? My first impression is kind of a two-parter. So maybe that makes it a first and second impression. I don't know, however you want to say it. My first thought when I got these on my feet was like, oh, is Meier just trying to get me hurt? And not in a mean way, just in that like being on a race cut got me kind of like reliving my glory days, and I had to kind of dial it back a couple of times like, oh wait, Elliott, don't get hurt. You know, like, hey, you still have to take care of the kids when you get home. Yeah, let's not run this like it's a GS or like you're in college. And also, you know, the snow is a little bit softer, so I had to kind of remind myself like, hey, you know, this isn't like a salted, icy East Coast race course. You're not reliving your high school GS days. You gotta dial it back a little bit. And then my second impression, you know, my real like first impression, that's kind of just my joke one. Although it is what I thought. I was like, oh, you let the ski run away with you, you know, you're gonna get carried away. My second impression was, I forgot how much fun this is. I feel like a lot of all mountain skis are trying to replicate what a race ski does. And I think for a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, for a handful of people, they would have so much fun on this. If you've never really experienced a race ski, but you're aggressive with your carving, it's like, man, this is such a fun experience that I'd almost recommend, like, everybody should try a ski like this, if not this ski itself. Because when you go onto a race ski, it's not forgiving, it'll be like really hard, but there's some fun parts to it. This gives you that kind of race ski experience, and it's a ton of fun. So that was my second impression, like, I forgot how fun race skis can be, and this gives you almost all of that while being way more forgiving. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about the pros and cons, but those were kind of my first impressions on, oh yeah, quick edge to edge, responsive turns are really fun. But let's talk about the good, and then we'll talk about some of the drawbacks, because whenever you get a ski going this fast, you're gonna have to make a couple of compromises, and this ski is no exception. Now, the first really good thing I already kind of mentioned is this gives you that race feel. It's really quick edge to edge. You know, you have a thinner underfoot ski, but the nice thing about that is the amount of time it takes to set up and get from one edge to the other is really quick. So you're getting that responsive, quick initiated turn. Also, as you can see, this ski has a little bit, like a healthy amount of camber, but there's not a ton of rocker, right? You just got a little bit of tail splay and, you know, a good amount of tip splay, but it's got a lot of surface touching the snow at any time, which is going to allow it to track down the hill smoothly. It's similar if you've ever owned a kayak or like bought a kayak, the shorter kayaks for like whitewater waves, you can turn them quickly, whereas like a long sea kayak tracks smoothly and it takes less energy to kind of get it going, is a similar concept here. Now that I've explained why race skis can be fun to ski, let me tell you how this ski differs from race skis and the things I like about that. The big thing that these skis eliminate is a lot of the cons that you would get out of a race ski. This thing tracks fast. It is edge to edge quick, but it is much softer and much more gradual, so it makes it a lot more approachable for most skiers. It's like taking a race ski and giving it the fundamentals of a longboard, like one of those longboard skateboards where it just has that gradual flex that feels really smooth and nice. And what that means is it doesn't bounce you off firmer snow like a race ski does. If you have really firm snow and you aren't ready for it, a lot of those race skis, your legs are taking all of that impact. The ski is just a big thick hunk of wood and metal. These Bangtails will actually absorb some of that chatter or some of that energy, and so it gives you a little bit more leeway, a little bit more flexibility, and just kind of like a smoother skiing experience. But now that we talked about the good, let's talk about some of the drawbacks, because with any kind of niche ski like this, you're gonna run into some pretty glaring drawbacks, but that's okay. This ski isn't trying to do those things, but just so you know, so you're getting the right fit for the right ski. The cons is obviously this is not very diverse. I mean, it's not meant to be. It's meant to let you enjoy fast, responsive turns, which it does well, but it's 100% a specialty tool. You're not gonna take this on a powder day. You're not gonna take it on like a trip where you're not sure what the weather's gonna be. This is, I'm dialed in for carving and that's what I wanna do. I mean, you could take it on a trip, like if I was going to Sun Valley, 100%, this would be so much fun because you have those long open runs, especially if it's well groomed. It's super fun, but like, you know, if you're going somewhere you've never been before and you're not sure about the snowfall, you wouldn't just bring this. You would bring this with a powder ski or whatever, right? Of course, this is not a ski with a lot of range. It's a specialty tool, and I would treat it as such. You have to make sure you have a solid platform underneath. If it's firm groomers, then no worries, right? Like, you are gonna have something to stand on. If you've got any kind of corduroy, obviously that's like a good compacted platform. But I would say if you have any kind of adverse conditions, you're just gonna wanna kind of tread lightly. If you have really soft, wet, rainy snow, you wanna kind of make sure you understand your footing so this thing doesn't just kind of dive in. But that is what I would say about any ski this width. But you know, as always, that's a drawback, and as a consumer, you know, make sure you're getting this tool for the right job. And if you do get this ski in adverse snow, just pay attention to how you apply pressure to it so that you're not kind of breaking the surface of the snow too aggressively. So what would I give this for a score? I mean, honestly, I have friends that have race skis, which is awesome. If I still have race skis, I'd probably get them out of the, you know, shed every once a year or so. But I think that if you're not used to race skis, it can give you some bad habits. They can kind of ping you around. The ski ends up steering you more than you're steering the ski. And for them, I would rather turn them onto this because it gives you a lot of forgiveness in its gradual flex. It gives you a lot of forgiveness in, you know, not overpowering you, letting you kind of steer the ski. So I think for people who really love carving or are big into like their skiing form or going fast or trying to just work on their carving, this ski would be an absolute treat for those people, especially if that's kind of what your focus is primarily. If you're somebody who wants a ski that's going to get you all along the hill, you know, make no mistake, this ski is not for that. But for people who love carving, who want something that is really fun, I can't tell you enough how fun it is to be on a thin ski like this, to get your edges up so quickly, to have a responsive ski, to have something that goes kind of fast and, you know, puts the fear of God in you like it did me. I mean, I was more afraid because I know my own ego. Like, if you want real talk for a second, I've only ever gotten hurt skiing with Zach because I raced with him and I get like, oh, maybe I could ping it, and he's a much better skier than me, so I'm always like trying to like catch up to him, and I always get hurt when I ski with Zach, and this was kind of the same thing. I could feel my ego inflating a little bit, and I had to remind myself, hey, I'm 35, not 17. But what a blast I had. If you like carving, get yourself a set of these, have fun. Maybe if you're running a beer league, I mean, I think that would be so much fun, having like a gradual flex. You know, obviously these aren't like FIS legal skis, but with Meier having that flexibility of it not being a FIS legal ski, they can do a lot of really fun stuff with it. Before I get into score, there's something else I want to say. A lot of other brands are getting into these short radius skis. With the success of the Black Crow's Mirror's Core, the Black Crow's OCTO, you've got the new DPS, Pisteworks 79. A lot of these brands have realized that there's a market for short radius skis, skis that can like really make aggressive turns, you know, without a lot of terrain, because that's fun. Making quick turns is fun. I think that the entire ski industry could learn a lesson from these skis, because everybody is so afraid to get anywhere near race skis. Like, well, race skis are scary and they're these big World Cup skis of all this metal. What Meier has done here is they've taken a ski that is fun like a race ski, without all the seriousness, without the arbitrary specs that FIS decides to enact every decade or so when they get bored. This just has the fun of the race ski and kind of has the heart of what makes racing fun that I think a lot of people don't necessarily get to experience. And I think the entire ski industry could learn a lesson from these skis, because these touch on something that a lot of the ski industry tends to ignore. Ski racing is fun, and this understands what's fun about it. God, I totally forgot about score. For me, these are an 8.3 out of 10. I do think this is for a very specific audience, and these aren't the dampest ski. You know, if the conditions are really, really soft and wet, you do have to kind of be careful in how you apply that pressure. And I just think that it's very specific in the kind of conditions it's good at, or the type of skier that it's good for. But if you're somebody who enjoys racing or just enjoys carving, and you've never really gotten to experience a race ski, not only is this like the perfect introduction for that, but this is such a nice alternative. It's gonna allow you to enjoy a lot of what makes ski racing fun to me, or at least those kind of turns. I think there's a lot of fun to be had here, but it has to be for the right person and the right conditions. So for, like I said, an 8.3 out of 10. I do think the price, $8.95, last year would have been high, but like I said, they're handmade, they're made in Colorado, they use wood that is harvested in an environmentally friendly way. $8.95 for a handmade ski, just like staple skis are gonna be at that price, let alone something made in the US, handmade. Overall, the value is really good in these. I think it's for a very specific audience, but if it matches the kind of fun you like to have, I think these are absolutely worth trying. So like I said, 8.3 out of 10. Big shout out to Meier. Thank you so much for sending me these and letting me test them out. Meier is nothing if not confident. and I really appreciate you guys sharing these skis with me. And as always, more than anything, just thanks for taking time out of your day to watch my reviews. I know that the Meier Bangtail is not the most searched ski on YouTube, and honestly, I don't care. I like being an independent ski reviewer. I like testing new things out, even if they are not kind of the most commonly searched thing. It's not about metrics for me. For me, it's about finding fun skis that maybe you guys haven't heard of. And in this case, this was such a fun ski that you're not gonna hear about at your local shop. And I think there's something really beautiful about that. Finding something that's kind of outside of what you know and testing it. So for me, like, I don't know. I appreciate getting to test skis like this, and I appreciate you guys watching and giving me the capacity to be independent and test this kind of ski. Because there's no reason more people shouldn't be talking about something that is as fun as this. So thank you to you guys. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.